Assalamu alaikum, everyone. My name is Selim, and I am banquet chair for CAIR-Philadelphia, and I'd like to welcome all of you here this evening. It's wonderful to see all of us gathered annually at this event, all in one room, enjoying time with family and friends. So I'd like to introduce Sister Madinah Wilson-Anton. She grew up in the 26th district in Delaware, where she lives with her family. She graduated from the Charter School of Wilmington. Sister Madinah is an alumna of the University of Delaware and holds a bachelor's degree in international relations and Asian studies. In 2022, Sister Madinah earned a Master's of Arts in Urban Affairs and Public Policy from the Joseph Biden Jr. School of Public Policy and Administration. She's formerly studied Arabic, Chinese, French, and Spanish, mashallah. While at the University of Delaware, Sister Madinah was actively involved in several campus organizations where she held leadership positions, including the MSA, Students for Justice in Palestine, and her sorority Lambda Pi Chi. She worked for 2 years as a legislative fellow in the state legislature, and an additional year as a legislative aide for the 26th and 27th districts. In this capacity, she communicated with residents and helped them with a variety of issues. This experience gave her firsthand exposure to the issues and concerns of her fellow community members. Sister Madinah is serving as our MC for the evening, so please give her a warm welcome.
Assalamu alaikum. I think it's time for me to update that bio to remove our former president's name. A little note to myself as that was being read. I'm really honored to be here with you all this evening in a new location, and I want to also welcome you to our 20th year gala for CAIR-Philadelphia. As was mentioned, I'll be your host. I serve as state representative in the 26th district in Delaware, which is part of CAIR-Philadelphia's area. And I'll be honest with you all, I am incredibly honored to represent the Muslim community in our state's capital. Thank you. Growing up in post 9/11 America, I honestly can't really remember a time before CAIR. I was recalling my experiences with CAIR over the years, trying to think of what my first experience was. I know early on I attended a Know Your Rights training at the masjid as a young teenager. I know they came to our campus and talked about Islamophobia. I know one of my best friends who I spotted in the buffet line earlier worked with CAIR as a young adult. For some community members, their first experience with CAIR is an event like this. But for many of our community members, the first time that they interact with CAIR, it's almost like a superhero in a cape situation, where CAIR arrives to protect them and to fight for them at their job, in their school. CAIR, for 20 years in this community, has been organizing on the front lines, mobilizing voters, making sure that our community is heard, and addressing harmful stereotypes in media. As an elected official, I can tell you that I've seen firsthand the work that CAIR-Philadelphia has done for my constituents. And I know we're fundraising tonight, right? So I'm gonna be reminding you that a few times this evening, but CAIR could use more financial support. And because I know that, I have to kind of triage. When I get people reaching out, I'm like, can I send this person to CAIR? Or do I need to find another resource for them? Because I know they're working so hard. But I've seen them step up time and time again for community members that have needed their support. When Brother Ahmed and Sister Asia reached out to me to set up our first Muslim Capital Day in Delaware, I jumped at it. I was excited to partner with them. And little did we know that just a few months after we started planning, that the genocide in Gaza would begin to unfold. Months of planning with the CAIR team resulted in an amazing turnout of diverse community members from different backgrounds and different ages. Now, months prior to this day, I had introduced a resolution to call for a ceasefire, and it didn't have enough votes to move forward. But the night before the Muslim community arrived with CAIR's organization, I was getting calls from my colleagues. I was called into a meeting with leadership, and they asked, "What do you think? You think we can get this done tomorrow?" Because they were worried. They knew the community was showing up the next day. They knew they were going to be asked questions about why action had not been taken yet. And they were spurred into action because of people at CAIR who got the community organized to show up. And I'll be honest with you, in that meeting with leadership, I wasn't hopeful. I didn't think that we could get it passed, but I figured we should try. And I was taught a lesson the next day when the community showed up and met with their senators and representatives, and the vote was called, and the resolution passed unanimously with no debate. SubhanAllah. That was a lesson that I needed to be reminded of. And it's a lesson that our community also needs to learn. There are countless members of our community who aren't here with us tonight, that maybe aren't convinced that their voices have power. And it's examples like that where, subhanAllah, within 24 hours, people in the halls of power actually respond. And it's the work of chapters like CAIR-Philadelphia, I think, that is really where we should be thankful, right, and appreciative for that work. Now, I can't tell you how many times I have reached out to CAIR to have them help me with a constituent. And similarly, I can't tell you how many times Brother Ahmed and Sister Asiya have reached out to me to get me to help with an initiative of theirs. But what I can tell you is that every time that I show up for a CAIR initiative, I'm honored to do so, and I'm surprised by the turnout, by how effective their organizing is. And what I want to remind you all a few times tonight is what you've donated to show up tonight covers the food, it covers the venue, it covers the speakers. It doesn't come close to covering the work that is done day in and day out here in this chapter. And so I'd ask that you be incredibly generous. Enjoy the program. We're going to have some laughs. We're going to have some serious conversation. But the main point is to donate, okay? And something that was not included in my bio is a couple years ago, I started doing stand-up comedy. So I think I'm the funniest legislator you'll ever meet, but we'll see. Okay, you're clapping for my confidence in myself, I guess. I appreciate that. But as we reflect tonight as a community, my ask is, again, remember that every dollar we raise is multiplied countless times. The impact is immeasurable. And as Ramadan approaches, and we're all renewing our intentions to be the best Muslims that we can be, think about how CAIR-Philadelphia fits into that plan for you. Okay, the sheikh from our local masjid in my area is here, and the khutbah this week was basically like, how are you going to approach Ramadan as self-reflection and improvement? And I would ask that you include CAIR-Philadelphia in that plan for you and for your household. We're in a unique time as a community and as a country. And this evening, we have the blessing of being joined by two world-renowned leaders, Dr. Mark Lamont Hill and Dr. Amir Zahir. And I'm excited for us to have a conversation with them, and we're going to make sure that we have time to get questions from the audience as well. But I wrote myself a note to do this one more time. Let's see, how many times can I get a fundraising ask in like 10 minutes? Let's dream big. Don't give me pity laughs. I heard that back there. Don't, if it's not funny, don't laugh, okay? And I'll work on it. But it's been 20 years, okay? What do the next 20 years look like? Right now, there are 7 full-time staff at this chapter. What would the future of our community here look like if we double that? Imagine how many more family members can be represented when they're discriminated against? How many more voters can be mobilized? How many more people might be spurred to run for office themselves? Keep that in mind, okay, throughout the evening. And now, I'd like to introduce our guest for the fireside chat portion. So, we'll be joined up here with Dr. Mark Lamont Hill, one of the leading intellectual voices in the country. He's currently the host of BET News, Al Jazeera Upfront, and the Coffee and Books podcast. He's an award-winning journalist and has received numerous prestigious awards from the National Association of Black Journalists, GLAAD, and the International Academy of Digital Arts and Sciences. He is a presidential professor of anthropology and urban education at the City University of New York Graduate Center, and prior to that, he held positions at Morehouse College, Temple University, and Columbia. And if you weren't sure, he's from Philadelphia. Go Birds. And he's been a social justice activist and organizer since his youth. He's the founder and director of the People's Education Center in Philadelphia, as well as the owner of Uncle Bobby's Coffee and Books. Oh. And we have Amr Zahir, who is a Palestinian Arab-American comedian, speaker, writer, academic, and adjunct professor at University of Detroit Mercy School of Law. He draws on his experiences growing up as a child of Palestinian refugees, two of which are they're fond to me, amazing people from the Delaware community. And he's performed and lectured on topics like politics, society, culture, identity, Palestine, Islam, and more. He has produced and headlined in 3 of his own comedy tours: 1001 Laughs Comedy Tour, We're Not White, and in 1948. He founded and produced the annual 1001 Laughs Ramallah Comedy Festival, a production in Palestine that features numerous comedians and shows premiering in August 2015. The festival entertains over 2,000 locals annually and still goes on today. So at this time, I'd like to invite them both to join me up here, and I would ask that the podium be removed